Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this webinar about doing things with teams you've never done before. This is the first session of our webinar series we have for you, that's running until the 8th of April. So at the end of the session, you will see all of the sessions that we also have in the coming 3 weeks. But for today, we're going to show you amazing things of what you can do with Microsoft Teams and the things you've never done before. My name is Jeroen Jansen. I'm a subsidiary product marketing manager for customer success. And with me today is
Jos Verlinde. I'm a technical architect working with partners, mostly on Teams, in the Netherlands.
Thank you for that, Jos. And great to have you here today in this nice session where we're going to show you things about Teams. And again, a lot of people are already using Teams, and that we of course think that's great, but there's so much more that you can do. And today we're going to show you a bit more what you can do. And also this is going to be like the keynote session for all of the other sessions that will be held in the coming 2 or 3 weeks. So let's get started right away. Our world has changed a bit, to say the least, during this COVID-19 period. And what we see right now is that we try to get people to work in a safe manner and making sure that they're able to work in the best possible way. And in this new way of working, we have seen that a lot of people are now able to work from home, work remotely, and using tools like Teams in this case to make sure that they stay connected. But again, that's only the beginning. There is a moment in time when we will be back.
I hope so.
At the office, and that we start working. But again, the world will never be the same again. Hybrid working is the place to go. So what you want to do is imagine or even reimagine what would be the new normal for you. And what would be the way of working that would work for you. And Teams is a perfect tool that can help you design the way of working. Work with all kind of other stuff like virtual agents, Power Applications, Power Automate, and also third-party applications. And in this session, we're going to show you all of them. If I look at the priorities right now, what's the number one priority for our CIOs? It's that digital transformation is here, where people were working in offices about 1.5 years ago. They're now working mostly remote, especially for our information workers. And that change of working habits is something that we have to cope with. And where we have like tools, in this case Teams, but also SharePoint and all other tools that we have in place to make your life easier and make the work even handier for you to get in touch also, or stay in touch with your co-workers. So all companies basically, as you can see here, are looking into this. And they want to make sure that they can collaborate together and that they also can interact together. And that is one of the most important things. And this number, 150 million, that's a lot. And it means we have 150 million daily users working on Teams worldwide. So if you're using Teams, you're one of the 150 million every day who start working with Teams.
So we're not alone?
No, we're not alone. We're with more than 100 million people. So that's good to hear. And we want to make sure that we keep on working with a lot of people, and even with more people for that matter. So looking into that, organizations are looking for a new workplace. They're looking for how can I become more productive? What are the steps I need to take to make sure that my productivity stays up to speed and even be more productive in some cases? So I think it's good that we just take a look at this and that we show you all the possibilities that we have. Like what we can do with Teams right now, stay connected. Have you seen this before? Right? You're in a meeting, you're in chat meetings, you're teaming together with each other, calling each other, having these virtual meetings, using video, yes or no. You can work together, you can collaborate with each other. And what we can, so sharing files, we do a lot about that, but also integrate these business processes. And with that, I mean that we are able then to have what you work with right now, let's say an application like ServiceNow or Workday, we're going to show you a bit later on, and make sure you can embed it into Teams. And working secure and compliant is the key thing, right? You want to make sure that you're compliant and that you can work safe and that the data where you're working with is secure and that you don't need to worry about that. So let's look at the first step, how to integrate processes and workflows into Teams. We have a lot of work-related apps, and you are working with apps more and more. There's basically no way that you are getting less applications to work with. You're just getting more and more. And if it's not work-related, in your private life, you also have all of these apps that you're using with.
Got a few on my phone.
Yeah, just a few. I don't know how many you have, but there are a lot of applications out there. And you want to make sure that you are able to work with them in the right manner. But how do you keep up with that work, with these applications? Well, what you can do right now is that there are a lot of applications, more than 200 already, I think more than 250 already by now, is that we have all of these applications that are embedded within Teams, that you can use within Teams. And you see some of them you see right over here. So Jos is going to show you later on how this all works and how this comes together with some examples. But if you want to use with these apps, you can find them over here. In the left rail, there's an application. You can see that it's the second from the bottom on the left-hand side. There's your application store for Teams, and there you can find all the applications. But take a look what you can do from an admin perspective. As you can see right here, you see all the applications that are available. But you as an administrator are able to control that, because there's also a private line of business application. This is all the applications that you have created by yourself, or that you want to be published by your organization, so that it's ready for you to use at your fingertips.
Yeah, and the admin can really pinpoint, right, which application should be used for whom, right, for the entire organization, or even for a specific department.
Exactly, exactly. One of the applications that we see that are used the most is this one. It's Workday for Microsoft Teams. If you're using with Workday right now, it's really simple to have Workday embedded into your environment. And what you will see is an option like this. In this case, we do a check if you can have free time. So what we check your balance on your calendar, if you still have some free time left. If so, you can submit a request right away from the tool. And there's other things that you can do. You can check how your agenda will be for today, or what you have for to-do tasks and stuff like that. All of this at your fingertips, just within the environment that you see right here within Teams. Another example is the virtual agent, that we have here from ServiceNow. This virtual agent helps you if you want to, let's say, create a ticket and you have a broken printer or a laptop or whatsoever. So what you can do is you can type in, my laptop is broken, my printer is broken, and the virtual agent will first try to, excuse me, will try to assist you in stating, well, have you tried this? Have you tried that? Basically, we'll say, please restart your computer. That's like the most common task, right?
No?
No? But if not, not for you, but for me. But in most cases, it will give you some examples of, have you tried this? Maybe reconnect to the network or whatsoever. If that doesn't work, it will automatically create a ticket. And with that ticket, you can go to a help desk or call a person right away. You can say, well, I'm not ready and it didn't help. Please connect me to a live person, and you'll get answers to that. We're also going to talk about Power Apps, and this is a really nice example app from a partner of ours, hrfutureproof.nl, and they have made a Power App that is like an intuitive feature to getting connection with people you don't know within your organization. So
really
really important now, right? You're sitting a lot at home. So what you can do, you can fill in what are your hobbies or what your interests or whatsoever, and then the matching will be done in the back end by this app, and we'll say, well, maybe it's good to invite this person or that person, and you can have a chit chat around stuff. So basically, when you're at the coffee machine, I go to you and say, hey, Jos, what are you doing today in that pirate suit? You say, well, I'm working for theater. And then we have an understanding about that. So
har, har,
har, har. Exactly. So again, all of these applications can be found in the App Store that you see right here. Let's switch gear a bit, because there's also an opportunity to have effective meetings in chats. So what we mean by that is that when you have a meeting, you have applications on the side that you can use to take notes, that you can use to create tasks, and all kind of the applications are available for you. If you want to learn more about this, there's a session that we will have together with Orange Trail, where we talk about Slido, Mentimeter, Mural, but also these kinds of things, that we have all these meetings apps that are available for you. So please check out the agenda and the calendar on the top sessions, on the Teams as a Platform sessions for you. So with that, I would like to hand it over to Jos, who's going to take you into the amazing world, I'm going to say.
Wonderful world
about low-code solutions and how to respond quickly.
Yeah, why do you want to respond quickly, right?
Yeah.
And why is low-code of interest in a way? So roughly about 2/3 of the companies say, well, actually, we'd like to do something, right? But the application that we find in the store is not just right for us, or we have our own special process, right? And rather than doing that somewhere else, we would like to do it, but actually, right, we're short-staffed. We don't have the capacity and development capacity, right? Or we might have actually people that really know the business process really well, but they're not developers.
Yeah.
Right? So how do we solve that? Well, by making sure that the people that know the business very well can actually create Teams applications. So one simple way of doing that is you might actually already have a lot of information that you currently publish on your SharePoint sites, right? And actually those SharePoint sites are not plain simple sites, right? They're actually applications. So how do you bring that application in within Teams? Well, very simple. There's an app for that. We can integrate the SharePoint environment together with the Teams environment. Your IT admin then can say, okay, let's make sure that every user in this organization has that pinned in the left rail. So that little thing that you see the circle on the left-hand side.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, there's this cool thing that I can point. Yes, I just learned that.
Yeah.
Right? Where we then can deploy that essentially to every user.
Yeah.
So you can do that with other tools as well, right? So there's quite a few SharePoint-based learning tools, right? So such as the learning pathways, which allow let's say the training organization or the adaptation and change management part of the organization to bring just that information to those users that need it at that precise moment in time. So not spending weeks and weeks in trainings on how to use Word, right, but having the information at your fingertips about how to use what in what position, right, and also connect to other people, right, and build ambassadorships, right.
Yeah, cool.
So that can all be brought back in.
Yeah, it's really handy to have some of an internet site, and you can find easy how to do this. And it's even I did it in my own environment. This is like a PowerShell script that I use, and with that script I was able then to provide the content, to upload into my tenant and publish it to my in this case my test end users. But it was done in less than 2 hours or something.
It's really simple.
And if you don't know how to do this, we have all of these partners here at Microsoft, and we're here to help out. So if you have a contact at Microsoft, a salesperson or a technical person, please reach out to him or her, and she can help you in how to get this done. We have resources available to help you make this possible in a very short period of time.
Yeah, and make your organization work better.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
So these are kind of standard applications, but what if I need something more, right? What if there's something more special? Well, so if I look at a Teams application, right, then because that's part of the work that I do, right? I work with partners to help them figure out how can we design an application. And for that, you need a couple of things, right? You need to understand what are you trying to do, understand the business process, right? And we talked about that before. That's probably not the developers, people from your organization. But they also need to understand, or at least someone needs to understand, what are the components, what are the Lego bricks that you can connect into the Teams environment. So roughly, right, these are bots. These are the things that can talk, can have a conversational user interface.
Yeah.
Then you have tabs, which are, squares, right, windows, or where you can surface information, like in a traditional application, but then aware of where it lives in Teams. And there's something such as pipelines, right, sending a notification so that your application doesn't need to have the whole interface to send a notification, right? You just use the plumbing that's already there in Teams, but you need to know how to connect to that.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different ways that you can write those applications. But first, let's look at the Power Platform, right? So if you look at the Power Platform, then that consists of individual components, right? So there's Power Apps, right, where you can create an application, right? It's kind of PowerPoint and PowerPoint-like, right, where you can lay out your application, right, and then add some code, kind of an Excel file, like an Excel formula format. And you can create really impressive application, right? Actually, that coffee maker application
is an example of a Power App.
It's built using Power Apps, right? And that looked great, right?
Yeah.
I can tell you, it looked much better than the code that I write or the Power Apps that I write, because I'm not a designer. Power Automate is more about workflows or things that take multiple steps. Do step 1, wait a bit. Do step 2, ask for approval. Do step 3, right? If you can draw a flow chart, right?
You can do this.
You can build the logic, right? And yes, there might be some formulas that you need in that case as well, right? Again, if you can work out the formula in Excel, you can do that in Power Automate as well.
Cool.
Power Virtual Agents are well, a way to build a chatbot, right? Building a chatbot, is that something that you can do?
So you go into robotics then, basically.
Well, a robotic talker, if you will, right?
Yeah.
But without the robotic, right?
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
So it's a scripted chatbot essentially, where you say, okay, if someone asks me this question, have a number of follow-up questions, pull some information from a database, call into a workflow to retrieve some additional information, and send that back to the user, right? And have the whole conversation follow up in that as well.
Yeah.
And you can
it's
write
intelligent,
that
right? So it has the intelligence that you build into it. But basically, what you can do with a bot is that if it doesn't answer a question, you can see that in the tooling that the question hasn't been answered, and that you can create an answer for that if that's like a common.
Yeah, there's two common patterns there. There's that, right, where you improve the answers that the bot gives over time as well, right? But I, as an impatient end user, well, am I impatient? Yeah, sometimes I am.
No,
sometimes I am.
Okay.
Right? I don't want to wait until the owner of the bot has improved it, right? So quite often there's also an escalation option, where the bot tries to give an answer, right, and then based on the responses of the end user, it says, oh well, I see that my answers don't satisfy you. Shall I connect you to Jeroen?
Yeah.
Right? And then because that chatbot lives in, is very, very simple.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's another scenario that's really interesting.
Nice.
So Power BI is for displaying information. I'm not going to spend too much on that, right? But clearly you're gathering data.
Yeah.
There needs to be a way to display the data as well. So these are individual components. You can use each of these separately. But then if you build an application, then quite often you want to store some data somewhere. So this is where Dataverse comes in, right? So is it a song about data? Well, perhaps, right? But it's really essential for an application to have a way to store the data in a secure and reliable way, right? So Microsoft Dataverse for Teams the data is stored in, well, what might be formerly known as the Common Data Service, right? The same format of data source that drives things like Dynamics, right? So it can scale really large, right? But then you need to pay the big bucks. Well, you need to pay the license for that. Yeah. So the cool thing about Dataverse for Teams is that you've already paid for it. You need to pay nothing additional above your current E3 license that you already have, and you get a database. Yes, it's not unlimited. It comes with constraints. But you can start building, and for the vast majority of the solutions, that will be sufficient. Yeah. And if you have the killer app that's needed for the board of directors, then I'm sure that for the board of directors, for that subset of people, that they'll give that. Or if your application becomes so important that you're making money for the business, well, then it's not called cost, right? Then it's called investment.
Exactly. Right? And you become like a software engineer.
Power hero.
Yeah, power hero company.
So, and these 4 or 5 things work in close concert with Teams. So you can use Power Apps completely outside of Teams. You can embed it in Teams, or you can completely create it in Teams. And that simplifies the management of things, because there's essentially, right there, if you use Dataverse for Teams, you need less IT, and you can do more work with fewer speed bumps as a Teams owner. Yeah. And matching those capabilities to the components, right? So things like tabs or task modules, right, which is a pop-up window essentially, you can create using, well, a thing that can create applications, right? So that's Power Apps. If you want to take an action on messages that are present, right, and respond to them, or get information out, read the messages, or read the information, read the files perhaps in your team, then or send notifications, then Power Automate is your friend. Yeah. If you really want to have a bot but don't want to hire a team of coders to do that, well, then Power Virtual Agents is your friend. With one limitation, right? The Power Virtual Agent can work internally and externally. Okay. Internal is included in Dataverse for Teams. Yeah. If you want to use the same technology externally for to talk to your customers, that works as well. But then you need to have the additional license, right? So understand possibilities, but also understand where there are, well, constraints, right? Or where you need to say, okay, well, make a decision. Is it worth, in this case, to make use for that of that?
Just a question, how difficult is this, right? So how difficult is it for me to create a bot or create a Power App or use Power Automate? I know you're going to show a bit later on, but what kind of prerequisites do I need if let's say I'm good at Excel and I know how to do a pivot table,
yep.
Or a VLOOKUP. So if that's kind of things that I can relate to, is that then like basically enough for me to get to work with
I would
these
say
kind
yes.
of tools?
Yeah, I would say yes. I think probably more important than your coding skills are your ability to look at the problem, to understand, okay, this is something that is worth solving.
Yeah.
And if I do it in this way, it will benefit a group of people, right?
Yeah.
Not just for me, right? Make sure that you think of your colleagues, right, or of someone else, right? A developer would call that scenario-based thinking, right?
Yeah.
I want you to understand some of the tech, right? And we'll explain more in the next session, right? But actually, it's probably more important to understand the business problem that you're trying to solve, and then yes, a little bit tech savvy to know, right, if you can work with the Excel-based tools, right?
Yeah.
And then it's very doable.
Yeah, basically what I've seen, I've tried this before. For me, it was like if you can go from step 1 to step 2, and you know why you cannot go to step 2 and what's blocking that step, that's something that you need to figure out. So logical thinking is basically enough to get this up and running. And especially now, right? We have a lockdown. You have to be at home at 9. So you have all of these hours at the end of the day where you can just say, well, I have nothing to do. I can sit, watch goede tijden, slechte tijden or whatsoever. But maybe it's better to do some things around Power Apps or
yeah,
bots.
well, that's an option, right? I would say that's a personal choice, right? Might not work all the time for everyone, right?
Yeah.
So what the sort of things, right, is try and win back some time, right? If you always need to do something through the same 7 steps, right? Even with some approval in between, this is something that's perfect to automate, right? If you can do that right from Teams and follow the progress within Teams, that's even simpler, right?
Yeah.
And to get started, we actually have templates. So I'll show you a few in a moment, right? That get you started with the most common problems, and then you, rather than needing start from scratch, you take something that already works and you change it.
Yeah, it's like building a PowerPoint. As you can see over here, right? It's basically building out a PowerPoint. It's really cool to see.
Yeah, but with things like macros, right? If you can build a PowerPoint macro with hyperlinks, that's kind of similar.
Basically the same. Yeah.
Right. And yes, you can spend hours and hours tinkering about the colors, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I got a question on the bot thing. The question is from Daniela, and she asks: is a Power Virtual Agent an app that learns with machine learning based on questions it's asked over time? So basically, is it able to understand, look at answers?
So think of it as Lego bricks. So the Power Virtual Agent itself, it knows how to talk and answer questions and create, let's say, a little bit variety in the answers. You can connect that to another Lego brick that does the learning, right? That improves over time. But in the end, right? So for machine learning, right? Machine learning is not the modern version of magic, right? No. For true machine learning, you must either have a lot of data, and then still you must have okay, this is good, this is bad, right? For classification or categorization. So you have a lot of the tools, right? But it won't do black magic by itself, right? Okay. Or purple magic, perhaps with teams.
Okay, I like the way purple magic. I think that's a good one. Yeah, we can call Hans Klok maybe.
Oh yeah. Okay. So yes, but not completely free, right? So I think 1 or 2 slides ago, I talked about the scenarios, right? So think about a user or a group of users as something that you want to do something for, right? Send someone a message, right? But don't send a message, go to that other website and do the task that is on screen 24, right? Give him, send a message to the user, right? With a button where he or she can click on, and then right in Teams, they're brought to that task that they can do, right? And then everyone is saving time. Do intakes, right? Or see what work you have to do for that day, right? Yes, it sounds a bit like task management, right? But task management app, right? That's a lot of the work actually, right? I've been working with hospitals, right? Or partners that work for hospitals more correctly.
Yeah.
They are thrilled by the capabilities of just being able to connect the bits of pieces of the business process that consist of taking people in, treating them, and trying to sometimes to get them out the door as soon as possible. Because, well, inside the hospital, right, that's probably not always the best environment to be.
No. Exactly. Yeah.
In other cases, it is the best environment to be. Yeah. So,
demo.
Yeah, well, let's give it a try.
Cool. What are you going to show us?
Well, so I said, well, it's simple to get started, right? So we're looking here at my computer, right, with Power Automate, right? Currently not embedded in Teams, right? But
this is the Power Automate you start up if you go to portal.office.com and you select Power Automate from the left, what we call the waffle in our terms, and then you can select.
Or if you're a geek like me, you just type in flow.microsoft.com and then.
Flow was the old name, so if you're looking for Power Automate, then
it's Flow. Look for Power Automate, right? But as you see in the URL, there's still Flow. Right?
Cool. Thanks.
So one of the things that you can do is that there's a bunch of templates here, which are provided by the community or through or by us or through us by the community as well as by Microsoft. So if you create a real cool Flow or Power app, Power Automate, let us know, right? And we can put it in this gallery as well. So that
really?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, cool. You learn something every day.
Yeah, that's right.
Learn something today.
Yeah.
So for instance, right, I could take a message in Teams and create a task from that.
Yeah.
Or I can do a follow-up on a message, right? Mm-hmm. And if I do this, then I can just start and create it, right? And then it will just create something for me, right? And I can jump right into the editing. Yeah. And what do I see here? Well, actually, right, let's dumb it down a little bit, right? So this is, if someone selects a message, wait a while and let someone knows, okay, you've done something. So why should I wait a while? Well, because when I do that, this flow, Power Automate Flow, asks me, okay, so you want me to remind you of this, right? Mm-hmm. In how much time? So if I now save this, right, I can call it remind me. And then let's use, I save this, right?
Yeah. So you now do this basically for your own. Maybe you can talk a little bit later on if you can share this stuff.
Well, first let's call the IT admin, right? Because I've just written an application, right? And now he needs to deploy it, right? Or she needs to deploy it, or not, right? So if I go into well, let's take a team message, right? Go here, and I can say, okay, so I go to the ... and there's more actions.
Okay.
Right. Oh,
look at that.
Hey, the remind me is here. So I don't need the IT admin. I can do my own stuff.
Oh, cool.
Right. So everyone can do this, right? And to come back to your question, Jeroen. So if I want to share this with someone, well. Oh, yeah, my flow is ready to go.
Yeah, thanks for that.
So of course I can just share it, right? And I can share that with Alex, because right. And then if I share it with Alex, okay, then I need to be aware that actually, right, it reads from Teams using my information. So I'm sharing that with Alex as well.
Exactly.
Right. I can also share that with my entire organization. Right, that's pretty simple, right? And then it just shows up for everyone.
Cool.
It takes about half a second, right? So that's not too bad, I would say.
No, I have time for that, to wait for that. But half a second, that's doable. Yeah.
So this flow was still, right, so this is the kicking the tires, right? So this is very simple. So this just sends a reminder. But actually, right, there's this cool app, right? It's called To Do, right? And To Do lives in Teams as well, right? So I want this to add to Do. So flash forward, I've baked this before, right? Yeah. So I take essentially the same approach, right? I have an adaptive card. You can see, right? This is the son of the display that you saw before, right? So I say, okay, give me it allows me to type a name.
Yeah.
it can say, okay, is it something for me personally?
Yeah, or for somebody else, or for the project team?
For the team that I'm working in. All right, so so after it knows that, then it figures out, okay, so 20 minutes or an hour in the future, so it calculates how much time it is. It creates a reminder that it needs to send, and it says, okay, if it's a to-do, create a to-do.
Yeah.
If it's not a to-do, it must be a plan.
Yeah.
So then figure out, okay, I was seeing this message in a team. I didn't tell it that, but it can look it up, right? Because it knows the message was in a team. So then it looks up the group, it looks that up, and then I can do the processing for the plan. So I've got one that is already completely set up. So let's run that through the experience, right? So, and that is the follow-up. So if I do follow-up, then it says, okay, remind me to do the demo in time.
Yeah.
I can select who needs to act, right? So if I select myself, then I submit it. Then if I go to the task, which is also an application that's integrated in Teams, then it will show up here, right? Okay. And so this is one that I cooked earlier, right? So this is one that already showed up. Actually, I expected it to already show up, so perhaps I made a foobar. And there's the other option is where I can do this and where it selects, do the follow-up, select the project team. Yeah. Right, and then it will go through that and find the first plan in this project team, and then it will show up there. Yeah. And that allows me then to modify those tasks, change the priority, make it to something that's more tangible, right? And actually what I've done is I've connected the Lego bricks that were already there, tasks and planner and teams using Power Automate, right? Yeah. Which is great.
Yeah, we're going to see a lot more on Power Automate. On the 30th of March, there's a session that's going to be done by Michel Bouwman together with Albert Jan Schot, or Appie for insiders. And he's going to show you all about personal Power Automate, so be aware of that. We got a question from Katie, and Katie says, can you use the Power Automate actions from a chat within Teams? So basically, yeah, you're in a chat, and because some words maybe are in that chat, it will trigger off Power Automate.
So yes. So what we saw now was one specific action or one specific trigger, right? So the first step in a workflow is referred to as the trigger. Yeah. So there are a bunch of different triggers. If we just create, well, let's just create something quick, and then we say, okay, what can we do with Teams? So these are all the let's say built-in Lego bricks or connectors, if you will. Right. So I can say, okay, if a new message is added to a channel, right? So if there's a new message, right, or if there's a new joiner to my team, I might want to say, okay, Jeroen has joined the team. Let's organize let's organize a welcome for him next Friday at 5:15.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
It's always a good idea, right? But this is also, right, so what we just use is for the selected message, right? But with a channel message added, you can also filter for that it contains specific words, so that it doesn't trigger for any message, but only for the words, for the messages that contain the magic word bingo. Yeah. Right, and then you specify the filter. Right?
Cool. So let's continue, because we're not that high on time, so that's...
okay.
Sorry about that, Jos, but there's so much to show and so much to see.
So let's switch gears a little bit, right? So this was Power Automate. Yeah. Let's look at Power Apps, right? Yeah. So I've already built an app, right? And let me first show you, because I've built a Power App, right? How do I add it to Teams? Well, clearly, right? There's Power Apps, right? So I can just use Power App. And then what I will see is that it will list all the Power Apps that are available.
Available to you?
Well, yes, clearly, right? Security is our first name. Yeah. So I see the Power Apps that I created myself or that have been shared with me, right? Either by my colleagues or by the admin. Yeah. And well, I like this chameleon one, right? So let's save that one, right? I didn't do any specific Teamsy thing yet, right? So this is just me adding a Power App. I can add any Power App to Teams.
Yeah.
But this one does a little bit special, right? So
this is like a chameleon or something, right?
Well,
yeah.
So this is, so it first knows it is in the Power theme.
Okay.
It knows it is in the channel, and this looks bluish, right?
Yeah.
So I've got the same Power App. Do I already have it? Right. So the same Power App I've pinned here.
Yeah. Oh, now it's.
So this is
change color.
Yeah. So like a chameleon would do, right? So it is a very basic sample, right? But it can react to the environment. It knows which application or which team it is in, right? And for instance, this is where you could say, okay, if this application is run in the board of directors, it will show something different, show more information, perhaps, than for the secretary, right? So it can take the team's context into account. So this is one of the ways, right? So this one is built using traditional Power Apps.
Yeah.
But I've got the same application, right? And it's called Lizard. Right? But you see that's here as well, right? So I forgot one very important thing.
What do you forgot?
Well, so it's nice that it has colors, right?
Yeah.
And I like the light theme,
yeah.
right? But I know that you're a dark theme.
Yeah, I like the dark theme. Yeah.
Yeah. So well, that's nice. That's your preference, right?
Yeah. Everybody.
I might code for that, right? But I might have someone in my team that is either visually impaired
or dyslexic,
right? So. And in Teams, it's very simple, right? Then in Teams, I go to my preferences, and then I can select high contrast.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool.
Right. And then Teams turns into high contrast, right? And wouldn't it be nice if it was possible that just by changing that one setting, that the entire application is aware of that? So it's not just about, well, yes, it's about the functionality, but it's also about the usability.
It's not only the user interface there, but also the content that's within the user interface. Yes. It also resides to the fact that it can change that.
Yeah. So returning to the slides for a bit, right? Because so what is actually done is Teams shares the context with it, right? Yeah. And the context is a Teams thing that consists of. What is the user? What is it? What are his or her preferences? What are the username? If the application is run in a team, right? What is the name of the team, the identifier, right? And what is the team's theme? So technically there are slightly different ways of getting that information, right? But and one is for, let's say, the traditional Power Apps. And the other one is for the Dataverse apps, right? Actually, in Dataverse, it's even simpler, right? There's just a Teams object and everything is there. You still need to decide the colors for yourself, right? So we don't specify the colors, right? Yeah. In this example, I just followed Teams colors because, well, that's my point of view. But if you have your company colors, right, and you have them in a dark and a light theme, please use them.
Yeah.
So. Moving on, right? We don't need to stop there, right? So we can use that as well and go into more detail, right? We can use the information that's shared in that context, which is pretty minimal, but find the information of the group, find who are the owners, who are the members, use the Teams connector to send notifications, messages, reply to messages using either the Teams connector or likely using Power Automate. And we don't need to stop there, right? We have hundreds of connectors, right? So all the standard connectors are included in Dataverse for Teams, right? On the bottom, you see something else, right? There is the Dataverse, right? There is the database application because most applications, they store data.
Yeah.
So what used to be the problem with Power Apps in Teams was that where did you put the data? You could store it into SQL, but then you needed to make use of a premium connector.
Yeah.
And the premium connector, as you can guess from the name,
the premium is the paid
requires
extra licenses.
It requires an additional license, right? Yeah. So the premium license is so all the standard connectors are there. Dataverse for Teams actually allows you to have one custom connector, right? Which allows you to expose one connector through API management. but that actually requires a bit of a development on the back end. So let's ignore that for this moment. But here the same thing is true, right? If you build a valuable app, then the premium connector is there as well. Just want you to understand where the boundaries and where the possibilities are.
Yeah, cool.
So what could we do with something like that? So let's switch gears a little bit. Let me go back to my Teams application. So here I am logged into my client, right? And I'm gonna book a meeting. Right, I'm gonna add the maternity ward.
Yeah.
And I'm going to require the hospital, and I'm going to require myself in, right? That's because I always want to be in everywhere, right?
Of course.
But wait, right? So there's a scheduling assistant, and I can add information, repeating, location. Well, that will be Teams, so let's send it. But I really want to add an application to this.
Okay.
So I first need to send it, and then
you get more possibilities like whiteboarding meeting notes, as I can see.
Yes, suddenly additional stuff starts becoming available, right? Okay. Right, so I can, one of the things I can do is I can add applications, right? And this is interesting because these are different applications than that you normally see on the left-hand side in the Teams application store. Well, actually, these also come from the Teams application store, or stores, I should say.
Yeah.
Right, so there's Forms, which is Microsoft. Mm-hmm. There's from third parties, right, such as Decisions, right? They are a decision supporting system, right?
You wouldn't expect that from that name.
No,
exactly.
No. Right, and these are the most likely things that you want to add to a meeting, right? But if you really want to add your own direct PowerPoint or Power BI or even a website,
you can add that to the meeting.
You can add that to the meeting, and it will be like let's say, form the context of that meeting.
Yeah. The funny thing is, I see optimized for meetings, so it recognized the fact that it's optimized. If you're using a meeting, these are the apps that you can really use and make benefit of that.
The applications in the top half are exactly, well, they are specifically tailored to be used in meetings, right? Yeah. So we're doing, so let me use this one, right? This is one that I created myself, right? But based on the sample by other people. So this is also created in Power Apps.
Yeah.
Right? So it's called Action Item for Meetings, right? Which already kind of tells you what it will do, right? But it will help me capture action items, right? So let me close this. And then I'm going to join the meeting, right? I'll be lonely, right? Because the rest of the hospital I didn't invite. So, well, actually I did invite them, but I don't expect them to show up.
No.
So let me join my meeting, right? And what I now see is that I have, apart from the normal options, I have an additional action item for meeting option.
Yeah.
And if I click that, lo and behold, the application starts up. So what this allows me to do is that while I'm doing a meeting, right, but even if I'm presenting something, someone else is presenting, right, and I'm just taking the notes or doing the minutes for the meeting, that while we're doing this, I can select, okay, we're talking about the maternity ward, patient care, right? I think we need some additional nappies, right?
Yeah.
So we need someone to order
nappies.
Right, I can. So when are we going to run out? Tomorrow?
I think tomorrow.
Okay, so let's order it for tomorrow, and then of course, right, if we don't assign someone, it won't get done.
It won't happen. Yeah.
So right, this is a very simple form that I created in Power App. What it's now going to do is it is based. These are the planner teams.
Yeah.
And this is the bucket, and I'm going to save it. It's going to confirm that it's cleared out, and I can continue and making my additional meeting minutes, right? Or if I'm done, I can just close it out.
Yeah.
I can always reopen it, right? So it's never in the way, right? It takes up the exact same space as
yeah, the user interface is exactly the same as you would expect when you do a chat or you have like the attendees and whatsoever.
There are additional options where you can send out polls where everyone gets individual things, right? But we'll have probably more to say about this afterwards. Yeah. So let me just leave the meeting, right? And then let's check out, because where did this stay? Where did this go, right?
Yeah.
So here we have the team for St. Joseph's, right? And here I have the maternity, right? So, and in patient care, right, I now have the order nappies,
Yeah.
right? It was assigned to Alex, and I think, I did something wrong in my calculation, right? Because it doesn't have the due date. Well, work for me to do. Apologies. Right, but this is something that I created in an hour or so.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Cool.
So.
Really nice. So basically, if you want to learn more about this and you want to see more about meeting extensions, we have a session on that. It's the number, let me just check really quickly, the number 8 session, the 1st of April, where we do a deep dive into things like Mentimeter, Slido, Mural, but also all of these meeting extensions that we're going to show. So if you want to know more about that, register through your registration site that you already seen to get to this page. And go to the one on the 1st of April to learn more about this.
Okay. So these applications that were created by someone, by just using Power Apps, right? So no hard coding needed, right? No true development, right? It's you grow the application step by step, and yes, you can monitor them, and yes, an IT admin can track them, and actually, if they're become really popular, promote them. If they're really insecure, shut them down.
Yeah.
Right?
So you have full control as an organization on what you can do and what you don't want to do.
Yeah, and on the control, we'll have another session on that, by the way, tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yes, on governance.
So, but these organizational level developers, right, or the power users, right, they're not the whole world, right? So there's also hard code developers, right, or soft code developers, right? The software, right? So I do call them hardcore developers.
Yeah.
So simply said, right, the same capabilities that we just had a few examples for that we created using the Power Platform, everything is available probably in the language and the platform that you're writing today, right? I always joke, right? Even if you're writing on an AS400, right? As long as it supports an HTTPS stack and you can do proper authentication, you can run your application there, right? So whether that's create a bot using bot framework or the framework composer, calling into the Microsoft Graph, right, where we use the connectors to get information from the different pieces, right, combine it in our application or write back to that, we have your back, right? And if you're using SharePoint or if you then we have solutions for that as well.
Yeah, and on the SharePoint framework piece, the last session that we have on the 8th of April, the very last session of this webinar series will be on Teams and SharePoint framework. So watch out for that also.
Yeah. On the tooling side, right, actually there is a app studio within Teams, right? So it's kind of a Teamception, right, where you can build Teams app using a Teams app in Teams. But actually most of the applications by professional developers get written either in Visual Studio or Visual Studio Code. So we have tooling that's part of those platforms that will not only allow you to kickstart the application, but also when you're ready or almost getting ready, or if you have an update, to push that update to the administrator so that the administrator can say, hey, Jeroen, I see that you've now released version 2 of your application. Let me now enable that. Right? So version control and application lifecycle management is part of that as well. So if you have a framework such as the SharePoint framework, which Jeroen already referred to, right? If you know how to write for that, it's kind of similar to Power Apps, right? If you can write an app in that, you can write a Teams app. Probably want to add some functionality to it, right? So in order to wire it up, right? So that you don't send the notifications back to SharePoint, but you send the notification towards Teams if you know that you're running in Teams. And yes, of course, you can detect that you're running in Teams. Right, and getting started on a blank slate is always difficult. So this is where GitHub comes in, right? There are countless examples where we try and explain and give samples in just about every language and for just about every scenario. This is how you build it. And actually, right, I think we're getting too successful, right? So we're actually trying to recollect and give more structure to that information.
Exactly.
And that is both for the code as well as for the design piece, right? And so we have a real extensible platform, right? So and where we've previously sold is where you can build everything using the Power Platform, right? And that's probably more for the system integrator space. As an ISV, you can create these applications and either sell them directly one-on-one to your customers, or one-to-many to your customers, or create your application, put it in our store. Yes, we will have some certification steps to make sure that it's a proper application, right? And it doesn't, and then everyone in the world can install your application with just a click.
Yeah. But again, if you have all of these applications, right, you have more like 200 applications already available out of the box, what are already been published by our ISVs, then we have some challenges, right? So as I stated before, with all of these applications, and it can grow wild, right? You cannot have so much applications. So what applications do you really want to have in your environment? What really helps you in making sure that when you have these applications, that you are able to track them, to see what's going on, if they are secure, yes or no. And we got you covered. We got for you a tool that can help you within the Teams Admin Center to review, approve, and publish all kinds of applications just from within the Teams Admin Center. So within that center, you can see all the applications that are available, and you can say, well, I want to make this application available to my users, or this application available, or I do not want to make them available for my users. You have a way to do that right now. So what we have seen is that a lot of customers were saying, well, we have all these applications, but we don't know how they reside in Teams and what's going on. Now you have a tool that can work for you. But again, a lot of applications are already there, like ServiceNow or Workday. You have that running in a web browser. Basically, it's just embedding them into Teams, right? So is there any risk? Well, it's really low. Yeah.
And there's a certification process as well, right? Which is optional, right? But if people, there's both a self-assessment as well as a formal certification. And in the Teams Admin Center, we'll show you which application has reached what threshold.
Yeah, exactly. So you can see, as you can see in the example here, what kind of resources it touches. Is it just within the Office environment or the Azure environment, or is it going to AWS or going to Google or maybe to a local environment? It gives you all that information right at your fingertips. So you can make a right decision on these applications instead of saying what a lot of customers are saying or doing right now, we block all of these applications. But there's more you can do. So, and especially tomorrow, we're going to do a deep dive into this. So if you haven't done already, please register for the session tomorrow. Also at 4 p.m., we're going to do with our partner McCall. We have a session around Teams governance. We're going to show you the tooling that is available, and it helps you even further on this to make these steps easier for you. So what are then our next steps? What do you want to know? So basically, you've seen today how Microsoft Teams apps, how that works. So we have some links for you. You can go to the Teams apps and workflows. There's a blog post. And as Jos mentioned, for developers, there's a Teams Development Center, especially for you. So you can go out and look at that. And for the guys and girls on the other side watching this, there's an opportunity for you to watch all of these sessions. So if you're not able to view them right now, please register. And you get the link afterwards, so you can view them afterwards, and all will be available to you. And if you look at this, you can see what kind of sessions have which teams, the platform teams there. So we have on Power Apps, Power Automate, Virtual Agent, and third-party applications. So look at the icons you see right here. Choose wisely what you want to follow, and if you want to follow them all, please do. Make us happy, but also yourself.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you're welcome. To conclude, if you want these sessions tomorrow at the end of the day, this session and the PowerPoint will be available through aka.ms/Teams as a platform sessions or tab sessions, as you can see here. And if you want to subscribe for further sessions, please go to aka.ms/tab-webinars_NL, or for the English version, aka.ms/tab-webinars_EN. And last but not least, I will make you aware of this community. This is the community that we have around Teams. It's a Microsoft community hosted by Michel Baumann and me, where we have a lot of partners, a lot of customers already in. It's within Teams, and you can join this for free. And if you have any questions about Teams or you want to ask some experts, they're all in here. So if you want to join our community, please do, absolutely for free, and we're here to help. And with that, we are at the end of this session. I would like to thank you all very much for watching. I want to especially thank Jos for your insights and for your...
My pleasure.
And let's do this tomorrow around governance. You're here, I'm here, and let's have Erik Bouwman also over here, and he's going to join us.
Look forward to that one.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for today. Hope you have an amazing evening, and stay safe, and see you soon. Bye-bye.
Good day.